Thank you, Your Honor.
How over did I go? Did I go too long?
Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury, good evening. Probably the only thing I agree with Mr. Diamond's attorney, Mr. Gentile, is to thank you for your kind attention, and that, yes, the system of justice exists for the jury to reach a fair verdict based on the law and the facts. Based on the law, based on the facts as you find them to be. Not sympathy, not prejudice. This man over here is no longer a police officer. He is a civilian on trial for the most serious crime that you can be charged with in this state, murder in the first degree. Mr. Gentile talks to you about credibility issues. And he talks about a friendship between Beth Kelly and Trudy Doyle. And he refers to the interest of Mr. Diamond, perhaps, in evaluating his credibility. Interest in evaluating his credibility. When you examine the witnesses in this case after you recall their testimony and evaluate them, examine the witnesses insofar, I suggest to you, as to whether they're biased, whether they had a motive to lie, whether they're interested in the case, whether they were consistent, and their demeanor on the witness stand, and other such things that you use in your everyday life to judge whether somebody told you the truth when they testified under oath and whether they were accurate. And then you decide whether the defendant committed murder on December 1st, 1998, or, oops, it was an accident. Because that's really what this case is about. It's only an accident, ladies and gentlemen, if you believe John Diamond, the man who was facing the most serious penalty the law can inflict. The undisputed facts in this case, and then judge whether Beth Kelly made up something 3 days later, or Sergeant Benbrook when he said the gun was cocked in his waistband, whether he, his fellow police officer, whether he had a motive to lie about the fact that the gun in his waistband was cocked, or whether he was wrong. He said it quite clearly. The gun was cocked. Examine Sergeant Benbrook. Did he have a bias, frank and forthright, consistent demeanor? Joseph Foster, and I'll get to him in a moment. The undisputed facts that we know of are that when he left the police station at 5:30 in the morning, or thereabouts, on December 1st, 1998, he left there with a loaded gun with a round in the chamber. The undisputed facts are that the gun has a recoil of about 15 degrees when you're shooting a gun in a police stance with two hands over it and you're ready for that gun to be fired. The undisputed facts are that this gun was fired 2 times. The undisputed facts are that this was not a hair trigger. You heard testimony on that in order to fire this gun, People's Number One, you had to pull the trigger with moderate force. I have a 6-year-old son. I submit, ladies and gentlemen, that in order for you to find reasonable doubt, the defendant not guilty in this case, you have to believe, number one, on November 27th, he took that gun that was a gift of Trudy Doyle's. It was no longer his off-duty gun, People's Number One. He took it, made sure the gun was unloaded, and he hid it. And he thereafter, after bringing Trudy home from the hospital, took that unloaded gun and put it in his police locker for 3 days. The testimony is that that unloaded gun, there's no testimony that he ever loaded it again, was put into his police locker and kept there. And we know that he didn't wear it as his off-duty gun or as a second gun on patrol, because he tells you that he took it out of the locker when he was cleaning it out. You have to believe, however, that as he hands in his resignation, and goes to the locker, his police locker, for the very last time, he deliberately loads the gun. He deliberately, which one? He deliberately packs his belongings. He deliberately puts the gun in his waistband out of habit. And he packs his, which one? And he packs his belongings in an airline bag. You have to believe that he takes this gun that somehow gets loaded, and out of habit, puts the gun in his waistband. Out of habit, that's what he told you. But you know what he also told you, ladies and gentlemen? His habit was that he used to wear that gun in a holster. Remember how Trudy used to try to snatch it out of his holster? The holster that was spring-loaded? But you have to believe that on December 1st, out of habit, he put that gun in his waistband. A gun which had been unloaded when it was in that locker. You have to believe that the gun was uncocked. You have to believe, ladies and gentlemen, that he thereafter went to the diner to see Trudy for one last time, just in case she wasn't going to go with him, or perhaps convince her to go along. And you have to then believe that Trudy, with cigarettes in her hand, took the gun. Now this, Mr. Gentile spoke a great deal about whether or not the cigarettes were in the right hand or the left hand. Now, could have been the left hand, could have been the right hand. I'm going to discuss with you why either situation makes the entire defense here totally implausible. But you know what you really know? You know they were in the right hand. Because of anything that Joseph Forster said, he certainly didn't recognize anything about cigarettes. Whether you believe 10 seconds or 5 seconds, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I'm not suggesting for a moment that the two shots were 5 to 10 seconds apart. They weren't. And I don't think you have to believe Joseph Forster. Time can expand during a moment of excitement. But you got to listen to when he said it was in the right hand, and you look at that diagram. The diagram of the truck stop hotel. He didn't know there was any importance or any significance to the cigarettes. He had no reason to make this up or even recall it. Joseph Forster is sitting over here. Second seat removed from the cash register. There's a door open here. Mr. Diamond, closed. Mr. Diamond is standing here and he's 6 feet tall. And Trudy Doyle's in front of the cigarette machine. The only hand that Joseph Forster could have seen her holding cigarettes in would have been her right hand. Makes sense. And it's just no reason for him to make that up. Now, why is that important? Well, it's not of major significance, but Trudy was right-handed. Trudy was right-handed. So either she decides to throw the cigarettes down in front of her, contrary to what Mr. Gentile said, or she did the incredible acrobatic performance of using her left hand to snatch the gun. And you have to believe that she was able to snatch the gun, righty or lefty. You have to believe that this defendant didn't react.